tonight for our third video on the fifth commandment. We consider this thought. Another way that people try to erase the fifth commandment, right? In the previous video, tried to erase the fifth commandment by just limiting to the taking of life in action. Jesus broadens the definition. No, not just the taking of life in action, but any ill will, any anger towards someone else expressed in thoughts or words. So here's another way. From their hearts and in our society, we have now normalized or justified what is called abortion. And this is in no way meant to be a political topic. This is something that God defines very clearly in his word, and it transcends politics. But abortion, just to define terms, is the taking of that which is defined as an unborn life from the womb. So that which is being developed and created in the womb, right, of a mother. So when we think of that, when we have laws in our land that allow for such a thing, if a mother, often pressured by others, feels like she has no other choice, but she pursues an abortion to get rid of a pregnancy, because she feels like it would be devastating to live with a child, maybe outside of marriage, maybe where a father's not going to be present, due to poverty that she might be facing, and so on and so forth. So how can we be certain that abortion is not just a political issue, right? And that it is murder. And even in the tragic cases, and some will talk about rare situations of like rape or incest. So talk a little bit about that. How can we be certain that abortion is across the line murder? As you think about that, I'm going to just reinforce on this issue that it really is the taking of life. The unborn that's life. Human beings at the time of conception. That's what we're dealing with. Psalm 51:5, this is the Psalm of David. He says, "Surely I was born sinful from birth." To be sinful is to be a human being who's accountable. Sinful from the time my mother conceived me. Is now extending that thought. It's not just when I was born I was accountable for sin, but even since I was conceived in the womb, the first time I came to exist, I was declared as sinful, inheriting that from my mother and father. So God is very clear that the unborn, from the time of conception, there's human life there, and that human life is in development. It's life that he desires to be protected, which is why he gives the fifth commandment. So how can we be certain that abortion then is not just a political issue? Think on a passage like that, and maybe go ahead and discuss some of the reasons why some people would suggest that abortion could be a good thing, and how it becomes overly politicized, and it's hard to see God's will in this. With that, if you are discussing this, then maybe pause it here, because I'm going to give you some insight. Here's the thing about our sinful nature. We can become so crafty at calling evil good and looking at good as evil. I think abortion, well, I don't think it's evident. In abortion, that's very clear. We call abortion the right to choose. Well, choice sounds good. But being good, you never use, this is a biblical teaching, you never use your righteousness, your goodness, to do evil. That's forbidden by God. God really speaks out against that. And when we think about people who are standing up for life, and they don't always do it in the most loving ways, and they need to repent over that, but to say that if you're pro-life, you're actually anti-abortion, to say anti-abortion sounds pretty drastic. So it's a negative way of speaking about somebody who really cares about life of the unborn. And the biblical directive to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves. So you can kind of see how our society's become really good about calling abortion a choice, calling those who are against abortion anti-choice or anti-abortion proponents. Another thing is they talk about a woman's right over her own body. But they ignore the general knowledge that and with scientific evidence even of what is developing in a child, it's human. So that human being should, in our land, being a human, have constitutional rights of life. So that's just even a government approach. But of course, God has given infinite worth in a child that needs to be redeemed. So those are some thoughts about abortion, but we can see how, it's very easy in our culture to justify any breaking of the fifth commandment, even the taking of life. All right, we'll move on to our next video if you see fit, and we'll again review a little bit more of the fifth commandment, you shall not murder, what Luther reminds us of as helping and befriending people in every bodily need, and out of fear and love for God that we wouldn't hurt or harm our neighbors in their body, especially the unborn. God bless.